Hello, everybody. This is the Winning in Winnipeg podcast, where I talk to top performing business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, and local Winnipeg celebrities. I get to learn who they are and how they think, and I get to hear their perspective about what's really going on in Winnipeg and in their businesses. Today, we're lucky to have Jared Lang. Jared is the managing partner of the new Murray Jeep Dodge dealership at Confusion Corner. I probably said that wrong. Before that, he was the sales manager at Murray Chevrolet and has been involved in the automotive sales industry most of his career. Jared earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Manitoba while on a hockey scholarship with the Bisons. Not only is he one of the most likable guys I've ever met, and honest, but incredibly attractive. I know that there's a lot more that I could tell you about him, but I'm going to just let him tell you the rest. Mr. Lang, good to see you.
Thank you, Dan. Nice to see you as well.
So I know it's really not that new, I guess. Maybe you feel that way. Maybe you don't feel that way. I don't know. But congratulations on the dealership. I think that's huge.
Yeah, no, it's certainly very exciting.
Yeah. So how long have you been there now?
4 years. 4 years, March 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone by quick.
It has. I remember you just getting it.
Yeah.
That's how fast. That's COVID time.
Yeah, that it certainly has gone a lot quicker because of that.
I'm absolutely blown away at what COVID has done to my ability to tell time and know what day it is and track anything, really. Don't actually know what I did yesterday.
Well, and also for the kids, Everly, when she started kindergarten, COVID hit. Like, they haven't been in school non-COVID, years yet. So lots that it's affected.
So 2 out of the 4 years has been COVID.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
Take me through, you have a ton of experience at Murray Chev. And then you got this new dealership. You started running it, and then you hit COVID. Take me through that.
It was tough. Like everybody dealing with it, they certainly didn't drop the COVID textbook on your desk and say, this is how you deal with it. It was a lot of just trying to figure things out with, coworkers and then, also friends from other dealerships and how they were handling things and then also leaning on, Manitoba Health as well. Like, hey, here's the situation. How do we deal with this the proper way? And, I think the hardest thing about COVID was every time a situation came up, there was a different way to deal with it. We had a case almost every wave. And, each time you'd have to go back to the playbook and, okay, like, how do we deal with this now? Because it changed every time, So that was probably the most difficult thing. People are coming to you for answers all the time and expecting you to know. But, thankfully there was people to talk to help you through those situations,
right?
To deal with it properly.
Was there a lot that came up from like up above? Was there much guidance there, or was it really individually in the delership itself?
A bit of both,
Yeah.
Because at the same time, everyone was kind of scrambling for answers a lot of the time too, right? Because of the change and the variances and then also how to deal with it. I think there was a lot of unknowns throughout it all that made it very hard to deal with.
Right.
So yeah, there was a lot of help from above. We would talk a lot on how to deal with different situations, but
Good.
A lot of it, my coworkers, like we just all kind of put our heads together and got things looked after.
Yeah. So you have a degree in business and psychology?
I do, yes.
Look at that. One of the most incredible things that I found when I was reading up on you is I was actually at a dealership and I had to get a ride home, and it was the kid's first day. And I'm like, what's your position? He said, lot attendant. I said, oh, okay, cool. So I chatted with him. He's a good kid, and dropped me off. And here I look, And Jared Lang, 2004 to 2005, lot attendant.
Oh yeah.
So solid.
Yeah.
Okay, so lot attendant for a year.
Well, it actually started before that. Like I had played hockey up in the Paw, Manitoba.
Okay.
And so I needed a job while I was up there. And so I started probably in 03, I guess, it was Dean Cooley in the Paw. And I started up there as the used car assistant, and looked after all the used vehicles, safeties, looked after the lot, all the new vehicles, pre-delivery inspections, all that stuff kind of was put on my plate. So when I did come into Winnipeg, that dealer was a part of the Murray Auto Group. And, I went to university, but did not live in Winnipeg at that time. My home was still in Souris, and, but I was renting an apartment in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. And you know how that goes. You just can't up and leave once school's done. I was going to have to pay for it. And at that time, actually, my parents had moved to Dauphin. So to me, I just thought, well, you know what, I'll stick it out. My dad had actually reached out to Dan Murray and said, do you think Jared could come and get a job at the dealership? And so that's where it started. I started as a lot kid there that summer.
So good.
It was an awesome job. Yeah. They were Corvette dealers. So
yeah,
lots of fun. The Corvettes always needed gas. So in my mind anyway.
We've never taken one out before.
Yeah.
So you did the lot attendant, and then you moved into sales.
Yeah. So I was going to school at the time. So, that was a summer position for me as a lot attendant. Mm-hmm. And then the next year I came back, and our general sales manager there, Jim Chuka, he approached me and said, why don't you give selling a try? And, and I was, at the time, you're a little nervous. And he said, well, here's what I'll do. I'll pay you the exact same way as I paid you last year as a lot attendant. Whatever I don't know what I was making, minimum wage or something. But he said, I'll bank all your commissions. And then at the end of the year, when you go back to school, you'll have this little nest egg of money. It was probably, it was a great idea. And so I had a lot of success that summer selling cars. And then at the end of the year, I had a nice little chunk of money saved up to help through the schooling year. So,
do you remember how many cars you sold?
How many cars did I sell that? 40 cars, I think.
40 cars your first year?
Yeah, selling.
I expected 4.
Oh, no.
Wow. Yeah, look at you. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
Now I understand why you have a dealership.
Yeah. No, it was, you know what? That was, that dealership was very easy to sell cars at. It was very well managed, and, the people, as a salesperson or as a lot attendant, I had already worked with all the sales guys, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody knew me. Everybody, I guess, enjoyed working with me.
Yep.
So it was very easy for me to step in to that position as a salesperson. I knew how the dealership ran. I knew where the cars were. I knew where the keys were, and right. So it was. And if I ever needed help, everyone was there to help. So one of
the cool things about doing this podcast and having people on is that, driving in that car with the lot attendant yesterday, the trajectory is really hard to see, right? Hindsight is everything. So if you're when you're looking back, you can easily track the steps. Oh, I went from here to here to here. But when you're on the other side, it's really hard to see, hey, if I do this, if I stick this out for this long and I do this, or if I work on myself here and, learn about this and study and whatever you need to, enough consistency, right? And you legitimately can create huge results in 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I really like about it. You went from lot attendant, sales, and then from there you went to finance
office. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a natural progression? Is that
not at all stores?
Okay.
But what our store, it seemed to be.
Okay.
Certainly wasn't. Yeah. It was really a direction that I don't think needed to happen, but certainly I'm glad it did, because it's just more experience in the business as a whole. So,
why would somebody fail in that position?
Which one?
Any of them. Why would somebody fail at car sales? Why do guys come in and either it's not right for them, it's not a good fit at the dealership, or
it's a lot of work. I think a lot of people underestimate the work it takes, the hours it takes. You could be, great at talking with people, but if you're not, getting the people in front of you, doing what it takes, grabbing internet leads, grabbing phone calls, doing your outbound calls, follow up, being at the dealership when you need to be, you're going to fail. It takes a lot of work, and especially in the first, 3-4 years of selling, because that's when you're building your book of business, and that's when it's a ton of work.
Right.
You don't have the repeat and referral business coming in the door asking for you. You're finding that business. I think that's where a lot of people fail, is in that first 3-4 years, where it is a ton of work to build that up. Once you hit that year 4, year 5, 6, and then on from there, and if you've done a great job with people, then they're sending customers to you. They're coming back for more cars, or to replace their car, and that's when the business really starts to get easy. But that would probably be where you see most people fail. They underestimate the work it takes.
Right. And is there something that you noticed, because you moved into more of a managerial position, is there something you notice about sales guys that one has that another doesn't? Like, let's say they're both putting in the work. Is there a personality that works better? Is there, have you noticed any difference between the guys that makes them successful versus not? Yeah.
I mean, you gotta, I think the most important thing when it comes to selling cars is building rapport with people, and is that relationship building. Because there's 4 other Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram dealers in Winnipeg that people can go and buy a vehicle from. But they've chose our dealership for a reason. Obviously, we've got the right product, and now they're just looking for someone to help them make that purchase, and they want that relationship with that person. So sometimes, I find that we get a little too focused on maybe selling the car than we do selling ourselves. And I think that's hard for salespeople at the start to realize that. Right. It's not about selling the car. The customer's already done 15 hours of research on the internet. They know they want this car. They're coming in to find someone to help them. And I think, that's maybe where some people lose their focus when they're early in the business, is that relationship side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. How much has it changed now from when you were selling?
Oh yeah, big time. We used to measure our Saturdays based on our phone calls. We would call them phone calls that would come in on Thursday, Fridays. You knew if the phone was buzzing on a Friday, you were having a good Saturday. Oh yeah. And now it's internet leads.
Right.
Right now you're focused on internet leads and watching how many internet leads are coming in to see, how successful you're going to have on a Saturday. And also customers, they spend a lot more time online. Customers are a lot of times smarter, know more about the vehicle than we do when they come in. Right. When I first started, I think they would say customers would visit 5 dealerships on average, 5 dealerships.
Okay.
And now they're telling us that customers are visiting 1.2 dealerships. Right. Because they do all their internet shop. They do all their research online. They're spending 14, 15 hours online on average researching the vehicle they want. They've come to your dealership because you have the product they want. They've obviously looked at pricing. They know your pricing is in line with what they want to spend. Yep. They're looking for someone to help them now make that purchase. And, I tell my sales staff all the time, the reason it's 1.2 is because I believe 0.2 of the time, the salespeople mess it up. A person's in the store to buy the car, but you've done something that, they don't like, and they're going somewhere else. I really think that they've made that buying decision before they're coming to the dealership. They're just looking for someone to help them.
Isn't that cool? How looking at that 1.2 means like if they're walking in, chances are they've made their choice and it's up to you to mess it up.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think anyways. I could be wrong.
Well, hey.
It's the way I like to look at it. I like to think that everybody coming through the doors coming to buy the vehicle.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, that was one thing, you know, I always like to do when somebody didn't buy a vehicle was reflect on it and okay, why didn't that person buy the vehicle from me? What could I have done differently? You know, what could I have changed to make sure that the next person that's coming through the door, I'm selling them a vehicle.
Right. You and I have talked about, go ahead. Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah. You and I have talked multiple times about sales and marketing and, you know, the importance. And I mean, we're in different businesses, but still it's, you find leads, you close leads and you fulfill, right? So when you started, how much help did you get as far as training through the dealerships? Did they have programs to walk people through? Are they different now? You know, sales and marketing. I could never understand. And so in my industry, salespeople are realtors, right? And there are some that do the bare minimum as far as like they take the required courses through their brokerages. But then there's others that like they study their craft, right? Those are the 20% that just murder it out there. Sales, marketing, negotiating, like they know what they're doing. I don't imagine that it's much different in car sales where 80%, I'm a big believer in the 80% rule, right? 80-20, like probably 20% of the guys bang in 80% of the results. What kind of training did you get and how did that evolve, right? You've told me about different courses that you've been on and taken and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were, you know, they're huge on training and at Murray Chevrolet where I was, the dealership, you know, every morning, 9:00, you'd get to work and it was either process training or product training of some sort. You know, process training, we'd stick to sales process of Joe Verdi.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, you know, and I've been to his seminars. I don't even know how many times I've been to his seminars.
Okay.
You know, in the city here and in Calgary and different places we'd go and watch and then we would do the online stuff as well. Now, I think the Joe Verdi sales process, you know, still to this day is very effective.
Because there's like two big ones, isn't there? It's like A or B.
You know what? I think Joe Verdi was very big for the longest time.
Okay.
You know, over the last little bit, we've seen, you know, some others come in, a guy named Tim Kintz that worked with Joe for the longest time. He's now kind of started his own company. You know, we did it, Dwayne Marino, Grant Cardone. You know, some of these guys have kind of come in, and I think they've just kind of evolved the process a little bit, you know, when it comes to internet customers now. The Verdi process was great for a customer coming through the front door. But, you know, we had to kind of look backwards and, okay, now how do we get that customer through the door? You know, and what does your internet response look like? And what's your response for your, you know, best percentage of getting that customer to even to respond to you? Like, how do you start that volley back and forth with the customer to get them engaged with you? And what are questions you can ask or, you know, things that you can say to start that volley? Because a lot of times, you know, a customer will send to 5 different dealerships. You know, and if you're not asking the right question or really responding properly where you're engaging that customer, then, you know, they've gone, you know, down the route to another salesperson and that's where they're buying from, you know, because like I said, they're ultimately looking for someone to help them at that point.
Right.
And so, you know, whoever, you know, I've even said, like, we got to, you know, send videos back, like make yourself seem real, not just a response on an email.
Yeah.
Differentiate yourself, you know, sell the sizzle, right? It's, you know, you gotta stand out. And so a lot of these guys have come up with these, they're focused on those types of things. We used to always, we would appraise the vehicle late in the process.
Okay.
And I think it was Grant Cardone that said, no, bring that in early. Bring their trade in early, because if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, what's the best way to build rapport with them? Go to their trade. Go to what they're trading in. Look at bumper stickers. Look at where they bought it last. Look at are they running a Jets plate, a Bomber plate, whatever, a snowman plate? Are they snowmobile? Do they have car seats in the back? Do they have golf clubs in the trunk?
Anything.
Anything.
Yep.
What's on their shirt? What's on their hat? You got to be looking for little golden nuggets all the time to build rapport and get that relationship going with the customer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that, the internet has brought a whole new string of opportunity, not only in car sales, not only in individual businesses, but everywhere, right? Like everything is going online. Mm-hmm. What's something that what would you like to see from somebody that's kind of newer, that's coming in? What kind of people are you bringing in? Who's valuable to you when they're coming in? Like I'm talking, 18 to 25, they're either fresh out of school or they are, they've had their time to enjoy life and now they're coming back. They're looking for something. What makes them valuable in this industry? when I do an interview with someone, I usually look for someone's energy. Okay.
We did an interview with a guy the other day, and the guy was like vibrating in his seat. He was so excited. And to me, the process of someone buying a car is very exciting for them. And sometimes as salespeople, we can, I've sold 2 today already, and I've sold, 15 this month already. It can kind of get a little redundant. It's the same thing. We looked at the same car. I've showed it already 5 times today, mm-hmm. but it's that excitement that sells.
Right.
So if you can kind of feel that excitement with someone, like they've got that enthusiasm and excitement in an interview, I like that.
Yeah.
Because I know, maybe they're putting on a show, but for the most part, that's going to translate to the way they do business. But
if they put on a good show for you,
I guess
they can put on a good show for the client, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, not that they're faking it, but if that's who they are at work, if that's who they can be.
Mm-hmm. But enthusiasm sells. I mean, if you're with a salesperson that's monotone and just pointing out, the things you already know, right. versus someone that's, excited about the product, you're going to get excited too.
Painting a picture.
Exactly.
Doing anything.
So that's something I like to see
right.
When I'm sitting across the table from someone.
What about skills? Is there any skills that you would tell people, maybe work on this? Maybe.
I mean, you got to be able to,
or do you mold?
You got to be able to have a conversation with someone.
That's fair.
Like that's probably the biggest one for us. A lot of the skills, I find we can teach a lot of the stuff, like product knowledge, easy. Obviously you want somebody that's passionate about it, that they're going to learn a lot more. But the product knowledge and most of the customers know more than we do anyway. So, but that we can teach. But just being able to sit in and have a conversation with someone and be likable person, well dressed, well put together. We'll try and teach the rest.
That's fair. I really like the saying, don't make it hard for people to spend money. Right. Any bit of roadblocks that you put, and I know you touched on it, any bit of roadblocks that you put in front of them is just going to be that's that point too. Mm-hmm. Right. That's mm-hmm. Actually, I'm going to side note here. Awesome opportunity to have an inside thing for your dealership that's like 0.2.
Yeah.
right? Like only the people know that work there. Sorry, I get carried away a lot. But we try like eliminating any friction for people to spend money when they come in. Like, where would we mess up?
Probably, the time the process takes can sometimes, frustrate a little some people.
Yep.
I would say.
There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross, right?
There is. And you want to make sure you go through the product with the customer, because they've looked online and they think it's the perfect vehicle. And then all of a sudden, they take this brand new truck out to the trailer sale to pick up the brand new trailer that they bought, and they find out that it's got the wrong gear ratio in it.
Right.
Because, they didn't take the time to really go through to make sure that truck, or, present that to the salesperson that, hey, I'm buying this truck because I'm towing.
Right.
And the salesperson goes, oh, really? Well, how big is your trailer? How much you need to tow? Because we have different gear ratios based on, what you're doing with this truck.
Yep.
And it's not easy to change gears in a truck. No,
it's a lot of disassembly.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's lots of things. The other day we went to deliver a brand new truck, and I'm not sure how it happened, but there was a little scratch on the hood. Mm-hmm. So right away that customer went from having the greatest experience of their life to, I just bought a $70,000 truck with a scratch in it. Mm-hmm. So that's tough on the salesperson. It's tough on everybody, right?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, usually to make those customers happy, it costs us money.
Yeah.
Right. And, unfortunately, those things do happen, but if you can just limit that stuff as much as possible, it makes everyone's life a lot easier.
Yeah. What I try to tell people is things are going to go wrong because we deal with humans, right? And humans aren't perfect. So if something goes wrong, which it could, it's how we deal with it, right? It's how everyone deals with it. Do they fess up? Do they, deal with it? Do they take responsibility? Do we just, as a company, do we just look at it and say, okay, well, what do we have to do, right? To not only keep that client, but like surpass, like that's another opportunity to just be like, well, we bought a truck and everything went well. Yeah, it was great. Well, I bought a truck, but it had a scratch in it, and you should have seen what these guys did, right? Like that's a huge opportunity there too.
Yeah, it's your opportunity to sell the next truck.
Yeah,
really is how you look after it. It will basically be whether they're going to go somewhere else to buy their next truck or they're coming back to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you, I've always felt like car salesmen have always had like this, they're starting in a negative position because of how bad we used to look at them, right? Like sleazy car salesmen. So, one of the things that like, and I would have liked to say this right at the start, but when I first met you, actually, you taught me a monster lesson. It wasn't right when we first met, but golfing. Golfing. And I never really understood. So what I'm talking about is when we were getting memberships. So I was a student at the time, right?
Yep.
And we wanted memberships at Niagara golf course. Yeah. And they wanted more younger people in, right? Because they were trying to really get their membership and their young crowd in, and they wanted it to be a cool place. And so when I brought you in, and I said, Jared, you're a student, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You went into the meeting. Even the guy said, Jared, you're a student, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Well, no, he didn't. He asked me if I was a student, and I flat out told him, no, I'm not. And then he kind of said, well, yeah, you are, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But at that point, I kind of was embarrassed that I was coming there because he thought I was a student. And then he asked me point blank, and I was like, no, I'm not. So yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't a member that year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was one of the biggest things. Like it's always stuck with me. It's always stuck with me. Like why, like this was a long time ago. Right. But you know, there was a time when I was thinking, what's the big deal? Right. And that has always stuck with me as far as like, that's a chance to just be honest with people. Right. Mm-hmm. And now in my life, I have found the easiest, like everything got so much lighter when I started doing that. When I started like almost radical honesty, as far as just like, you can't mess up, mm-hmm. you know, like I'm going to mess up, but at the same time, I don't have to remember anything. Right. And then not only that, I took that lesson mixed with like this monster training growth path that I've been on for the last, 7 years, and learning the importance of even being honest with ourselves about not lying about what we're doing or not doing, or our results that we have and stuff like that. But bringing it, like creating a company based around that, right? Like we're totally open book. Everyone's told like, that's number one, right? Like mm-hmm. just tell the truth. Mm-hmm. We're open book. We try to be as transparent as possible because, it takes all the guesswork out of it. So I do have to say that I don't know if you were the catalyst, but it's always stuck with me of that, radical candor and honesty in that situation where it could have been just an easy, mm-hmm. An easy out. So
probably would have helped my golf game too.
Well, mine suffered too because I didn't have a friend there with me. Yeah. But at the same time, that really that helped me too, because now I know that every time I go to you, and every time, if you have something that I want at the dealership, I know what I'm getting. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's what a lot of people have been that have gotten to know you have gotten to, they know what to expect. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's probably a monster part of your success, is that, you tell it like it is. You're very likable. You're well-spoken. You train like crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, your craft inside and out, mm-hmm. which is phenomenal. So as far as values are concerned, is that something that is just simply like embedded from childhood? Is that something that you've actually ever given thought to as far as how you want to show up? And
you know what, I have, and I think, I think it comes from growing up in a small town. I grew up in a small town. You knew everybody. My parents knew everybody. My grandparents knew everybody. My aunt and uncles, like, you knew everybody. You couldn't get away with what you can get away with, I think, in a big city. Okay. And so I would maybe attribute that to small town values. And, it was just a small place. You couldn't get away with anything. If you weren't going to tell the truth, it was going to come back to
eventually.
Yeah. It would catch up with you,
right.
Because everybody knew everybody, right. You couldn't get away with anything in a small town. So I don't know if, I would probably say that's just my small town values that I've kind of just been used to.
Mm-hmm. How important, so along the lines of value and stuff like that, how have you been able to, because as you get, as the ebbs and flows of what position you're in and the hours that you're working and how much you're putting into it, how has, as your career has been kind of, getting more and more successful, how has being a father of two and a husband and all of that played in? Is that something that you've had to actively think of? Is it just a thing of, things are working, things aren't working? How much how has that affected your ability to show up for your family?
Well, I'm very lucky. Kendra is my wife. Kendra, she looks after the home very well. She's very organized with the kids, and it's allowed me to focus on what I needed to do at the dealership to kind of get things up and rolling.
Right.
But it's also kind of one of those things I try to get home and shut things off when I get home and enjoy that home life. And my kids are still at that age where when I walk through the door, they're super excited to see me.
They still like us.
Oh yeah,
it's nice.
So that makes it a lot easier too, right?
Yeah.
And they're getting at that age where they're playing lots of sports now. So I really want to get and try and be involved in that and be there to watch them and take all that in, because I think it's going to go by pretty quick. So I'm told anyways.
Yeah, that's I don't remember much already, and they're not that old.
Yeah.
So that's great. What's something that about car sales that you wish people knew?
Well, I think a lot of people think it's easy. I think that's one thing. I think a lot of people think that it's, if I fail at this, I can always go sell cars.
Right.
And it's not an easy job. It's not for everyone.
Right.
It's a grind. Like I said, in the first 3-4 years of it, for sure. Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure is like a lot of other sales jobs the same, right?
Yep.
I just think, a lot of people think that it would be an easy thing to do. And, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people fail at it through the years. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I never like to see that, but, it is a tough job.
Yeah. What's the hardest thing about actually getting your own dealership and having to move into that role?
What was the hardest part about it? Probably just, getting in and just meeting everyone at the new place.
Right.
I came from spending 14 years at one dealership. I knew the ins and outs of the place. I knew, everything, all the people, where the keys were, where the keys would be if I couldn't find them the first time, and where they'd be the third time if I couldn't find them.
Right.
Like where to look, and so now I'm coming into a new atmosphere. What kind of a culture is it here? What's the quirks of every individual? What makes them tick? And then learning about everyone's family and trying to remember everyone's name.
Kids'
so that
names.
was just, and even going in the first day and thinking, is everyone going to keep working for me, or are they all going to quit and go work somewhere else? So that was probably just, and then once I got in there and got to know everybody, and I think everybody got to know me, that we were all looking to accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
Got easier. So
right. Did you guys have was there like a Murray Group HR set up already?
No, we didn't at the time. We do now.
Okay.
Yeah, we do now between the 3 stores in the city.
Right.
There's 3 in the city here. So, but at that time we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was, and actually when they announced that, I was going over there as the partner of the dealership and general manager, Ken and I were actually in a flight on the way to Jamaica, because we had booked a Jamaican, Jamaica flight, holiday, into March. And we were able to push it into February because March 1st was takeover date. And so it just so happened, though, when we moved the trip forward, the previous owner set a date to announce to his staff while we had moved our trip. So anyways, Dan was real good about it. He just said, Jared, just go on your trip, go do your thing. I'll look after it. I'll go and meet everybody. And so, so Dan went down and met all the staff, and then the word got out, right? So I'll never forget landing in Jamaica, getting to the hotel and turning my Wi-Fi on, and my phone was binging because, the word was out. And Ken and I sat at supper that night and just we're going through all the people congratulating us and all the messages we got. So it was fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. Welcome your new boss. He's in Jamaica right now.
Yeah. Well, it was more my staff that I'd worked with for 14 years.
Okay,
like they had found out that I was leaving, and I worked with them all for a long time, and they knew that what I was after.
Something was happening. Yeah.
They knew what I was after and what I'd worked towards, and so it was more them congratulating me and on the change. So
how was taking over that? How many employees do you have?
70.
How was taking over 70 different attitudes, coming in, not only learning, who they were and their names and everything like that, but how to deal with them, probably dealing with the managers who manage everyone. But where I'm going with this more is about, culture, and what did you want this dealership to be?
You know what? It wasn't that difficult when I went in there. I had thought that, how are they gonna, take me coming in but
I'm gonna take the door off the hinges. My door's open.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah.
I went in there and just got to know everyone, and Dan was good on. He said, "Don't go in there and make a bunch of changes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go in there and do anything. Go in there, meet everyone, get to know them. Get them comfortable, and then." As time comes, like you'll start to figure out who's going to work and who isn't, and, luckily for me, we didn't have much for turnover. It was awesome. And it was really probably the best opportunity that could have happened for me because, there's really 4 different departments within the dealership. There's the sales department, service, parts, and body shop. And so I was lucky enough that the group that we had purchased had a fixed ops manager that oversaw the service, parts, and body shop for the 4 dealerships that were in that auto group. And so he came with the dealership that we bought.
Nice.
Because the other 2 stores went on their own. The stores all kind of went separate.
Yep.
And for me, he knows the service, parts, and body shop business. And the thing that needed work at the dealership was the sales department. And I knew the sales department. So I was able to come in and just kind of go, you guys got that looked after? Perfect. I'll talk to you. He sends me a report every Monday or every morning, just to kind of keep me in the loop. But my focus was the sales department, which was what I knew. So it was a perfect opportunity for me.
Yeah.
And the fixed department there was awesome. It's still awesome. Our parts department, we were second biggest volume in Canada last year.
Crazy.
For parts. And our service department.
Why do you think that is?
Because my parts manager has been there for 50 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The building was built around him. Like the guy is amazing, just amazing guy. And he's just built an amazing team around him. Like you go through the parts. I hired a new guy the other day and I walked him through our parts department and I just introduced him to every guy in our parts department and just made sure to say how long they've been here, 20 years, 25 years, 30, 35 years. The experience there is just, it's unmatched. And, my parts manager being there for 50 years, the relationships that he has built we've got, I think 80-85% market share, for wholesale parts in the city.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what they've done. So again, coming in, you look at all the departments and, I'm talking with Dan Murray on, what do you think I should do here? What do you think I should do here? What do you think? You come to the parts department, he's like, get out of their way. Just focus on something else. Don't worry about those guys.
Yeah.
They'll do their thing. And they do, month in, month out. It's awesome.
How important was it to have somebody that you can go to, like a like a mentor like Dan?
Oh, it's, it's super important to be able to go to those guys. Like I've got, lots, my dad, had a car dealership as well. So, really easy to call my dad and run things past him. Throughout my years selling cars and in the finance office, I watched coworkers ahead of me move on to other dealerships. So they're a phone call away. I got, a friend of mine that manages a dealership in Fort St. John, BC. He's an hour behind. And so when he drives in the morning, my phone rings at 10 o'clock every morning. He's on his way in. He just wants to chat, shop, And so we bounce stuff off each other all the time. And then even my drive in, I talked to one of the managers over at the Chev store a lot. Just on my drive in, we're calling and just running ideas back and forth. How's business? What's working? What's not? It's super important to have those people,
right?
To be able to talk to.
Yeah. Do you guys sell much? Speaking of BC, do you guys sell much outside of Manitoba?
Well, we are. Yeah, we are. We are now. I mean, you would never before.
Right. Is that pure internet? Like, is that's the biggest thing?
Yeah. Well, and inventory, right? Like, we're very short on inventory right now. So it's really nothing for someone in Quebec, Ontario, Alberta, BC. If we got the truck they want with the options they want, we'll figure out a way to sell it to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you noticed any difference between people in Winnipeg versus dealing with clients from anywhere else?
No, I haven't. I haven't really. I mean, you don't. It is a little tougher because you're dealing with that person over the phone. And as a salesperson, if someone's calling 3 provinces over to buy the vehicle that you have, you've kind of got the upper hand on them, right?
Yep.
Because he's probably got 5 dealerships within an hour or 2 that he could go to, but he's calling you because you have exactly what he wants. So it's a little easier that way versus, somebody coming through the door or somebody calling you in Winnipeg on a vehicle that that he could go and buy at any of the other dealers in town. You got to be a little more, I don't know if I should say aggressive, but you got to work that deal a little differently.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you ever, when you think back, was there ever a kind of light bulb moment for you as far as like, this is where my career is going, this is where I want to be, versus maybe I should look somewhere else? Maybe I should. Did you always know you wanted to follow this path? Well,
I grew up, my grandfather had a car dealership. My father had a car dealership. My uncle had a car dealership, so it was in
my pappy's pappy and my pappy football him.
Yeah. So, people joke that I had a PhD in car dealer. Papa had dealership.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, but it was all like, I've always been very passionate about vehicles. I've always been around vehicles. I played lots of hockey growing up, but I think if somebody when I was younger said, Jared, do you want to go to a Jets game or do you want to go to the car dealership? I'd probably pick the car dealership.
Right.
And I loved all aspects of the car dealership, whether it was in the back watching the guys, fix a car, paint a car, or, in the showroom, checking out the new car that just came in. I loved it all. And so I think I knew, and I think, my family knew too, that it was probably as much as my mom tried to veer me off, the car business a bit, but,
cause you have a brother.
Yeah, I got a brother. Yeah.
And Riley did not go.
He tried it for a bit.
Or did he? Yeah.
He would have been fantastic in the car business. Every time I think, man, I could probably use a manager. Man, it'd be nice if my brother would come work with me. But, I know that's, never going to, he's got a great career going with, he's a power engineer out in Alberta. So, but he gave it a try for a bit and he went a separate route and it's been, it's been great for him. So,
yeah. What's going on with the Nova right now?
Big plans. Big plans. Yeah.
Have you broken anything on it lately?
Oh yeah. The motor's apart. That thing spends more time not running than it does running.
That's fair. I think that's like most antique cars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. I finally bought a lift for my garage just to get it up out of the way.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Just so I don't.
Those are handy.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Just it's a great storage tool.
When are you going to buy a motorcycle?
You know what? I'm more of a car guy. You know, I've just always been a car guy. It's
I'm glad you said that because I'm probably going to sell mine.
Oh, okay.
Because it hasn't been ridden in like 3 years.
Yeah.
And every time I start it, I see more oil coming out of it. Yeah. And it doesn't seem to fix itself.
Yeah. I got a snowmobile, so I ride the snowmobile all summer. So that maybe is my motorcycle fix.
Yeah.
In a way. Love riding my snowmobile.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've done on a daily, like what's your daily routine that if, you don't do that, is there anything that if you don't do, like the day's a little meh, or that if you do certain specific things that, you're kind of setting yourself up for a better day than not?
Yeah, I'm not much of a routine guy.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love to be a routine guy, I'm not. But for myself, I really enjoy getting into the dealership every day and just walking around and saying hi to everyone and just talking with people. I think, a lot of times, that you can get caught up in what you need to do for work, right? It's all of a sudden it's the end of the day and it's like all I've done, you look at the steps on your watch and you go, man, I need to get up and do something here. And, I really do. I enjoy getting in the morning and walking the dealership and just talking with people. Morning, how was your day? How was your night? What'd you do last? Oh, you went to the Jets game. How was the game? Where'd you sit? Oh, you went to your daughter's hockey game. Did she win? Just go around and just talk with employees and just engage them. Because I enjoy it and I think they enjoy it too.
That seems like it's kind of been your network is quite big over the last, 20 some years of doing that, and really investing in relationships with people is pretty much seen to be probably one of your biggest assets, right? Like it probably pays off.
Well, you learn easy or learn right away in car sales that, it's rapport building. I couldn't tell you the amount of times I've had someone come in and they want the black car with a sunroof and it's got to have these wheels on it. And, you find out that they know so-and-so's uncle's brother that and you build rapport with them. And all of a sudden they're driving out the door with the purple car with no sunroof because they liked dealing with you so much that those things didn't really matter that much. They would rather buy the car from you that you have.
Yes.
Because of the relationship you built with them. And, and that's huge in anything you're selling is rapport building and that relationship. And I tell my sales guys, you're not going to sell every person every car, but take as much information you can from that person, because that information you take from them will help you sell the next car. If you're talking with this person and he's a hydro worker and he goes to Lac du Bonnie and his cottage is up there and then the next person, a day later comes in and you find out they're a hydro worker and I just had so-and-so here yesterday. Or even if you sold them a car, right? I mean, there's just that instant rapport and that the wall drops and all of a sudden it just makes things easier.
Right.
And I think the more you can do that, the more people you can meet and know, just the easier it gets.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you could talk to the 18-year-old Jared, what would you be telling him?
Oh boy. What would I be telling him? I don't know. Focus more in school. Yeah. I wasn't the best.
To be doing well.
Yeah, I know, but not because of school.
Yeah.
Not because of school. It's just it's more because of the opportunities and the people that I've been able to surround myself with that, I've had success. I was never a school person. Yeah, just, there's a lot of things I probably could have focused on a little more and when I was younger, but yeah, no regrets. I mean, it all all seemed to have worked out, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things too that a lot of people that I listen to and that I've been thinking about was really, I mean, if there was a car school, I guarantee you probably would have listened a little more.
100%.
Right? You would have been, right? So that leads me, down the path of like, how do we find people's passions? How do we encourage that, right? Like your kids are coming up, they're growing up. You've clearly found, a synthesis between your passion and your career, right? Mm-hmm. And not everyone gets that. And not only that, there's people in the automotive industry that probably shouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. Maybe their passion is cats or whatever it is, right? But you've been able to find that. So that's pretty special, I would say.
It has been, and it just kind of reminds me my manager back at the Chevrolet store, Jim Chuka, who was awesome, and
he's a cat guy, isn't he?
I don't know. Actually, he might be. But anyways, Jimmy always said, I've never worked a day in my life.
Yeah.
Because I love what I do.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm very much the same. I love going to work every day. So I'm very fortunate that way because, I did work a few jobs that I was a clock watcher. I worked in a body shop sanding and doing body work. Talk about a clock watching job. Like, oh my, like I couldn't wait for coffee break, lunchtime, coffee break, end of day, get me out of here. Like it was, and I think it's good to do those jobs though, because you appreciate
a good job.
Yeah.
Is that the worst job you've ever had?
I wouldn't say I don't know if I'd say it was the worst job. There was parts of it I enjoyed,
What's the worst job you've ever had?
Oh, what was the worst job I ever had? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Mine was the rigs. 100%.
Oh, really?
100%. It was not, I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't like my mindset was totally different than the people I was working with. Like I was there, I knew I was in and out in a year, right? Whereas most people there are floating there, they end up there, and then they kind of, I knew that people, misery loves company, right? So if people don't like their jobs and you're saying, well, I'm going to be here for a year, and they're like, well, no, you're not. You're going to be a lifer just like me, right? Yeah. No, that definitely was, that was a dicey job. Plus the day after I left, my driller, ended up spudding, we called it, the derrick. So up in the stick, like up high where I was, I left, and the guy that took my spot, I was just learning how to do it. The guy that took my spot, the driller actually got this guy's hand caught.
Oh my.
It's a super dangerous job. Funny enough, I almost cut off my hand anyway, so I don't think I was ever meant to be. But
it all turned out.
You know what? It really did. Now I can't really point all that well, so I have to move my hand a little differently. How does that thing
work on the motorcycle throttle?
Well, I think about it a little bit, more than I should, but I think it slows me down a little bit, which is also good, right? My motorcycle can only go, 60 miles an hour or 60 kilometers an hour. So it's not I'll get hurt, but it's not super fast, which is nice. Is there anything that, in knowing that you were coming here, was there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I didn't know what to expect.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, like I said before, one of the coolest things about this is like you're allowing people to get to know you. You're sharing your experience and your knowledge for anyone coming up, like that, the one day lot attendant who doesn't know what he wants to do and can't see a future ahead of him, or guys that have been working in the industry for 6 to 10 years and they're thinking, is this right for me, or where am I going to go with it? Right. So hearing your insight and hearing all of that, I mean, that's invaluable, right? For them to get this amount of time with you, and also me, like knowing, like picking little pieces that I can use in my business, as far as like maybe walking around a little more, talking to people, right? Like we get stuff done, but at the same time, maybe invest more. It's something that over the last about 2 years, I've been writing down a lot more, invest in people, right? Because people are everything, everything.
100%.
They're our clients. They're the employees. They're what make anything special. Like everyone, right? It takes people. So, seeing how you are with people has definitely helped me a lot, which I thank you for. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. And I'm gonna say that, you have single-handedly changed all of my views about car sales. I've learned more about car sales in the industry from you than anyone else. But at the same time, you've had a massive impact on me as far as how to treat people, how to come about business, how to deal with, everyone on a day-to-day basis. Rapport is huge, right? Understanding that. So all things that I've been able to implement and learn, and I really thank you for coming on here and sharing your experience.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You are welcome back anytime.
Oh, well, that's good.
Anytime. Okay. I appreciate you coming out, and good luck out there.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dan.
Bye-bye.